Hey everybody, welcome back to Pets 101. I'm your host Nick, and as always, I'm not an expert, I'm just somebody that loves animals, and I like to share some of what little I have learned over the course of my life onto you. Today we're doing a deep dive. What that is it's not necessarily a pet that you're going to be able to find at most pet stores, but it is an animal that for one reason or another I took an interest in, did a little research, and then wanted to pass along some of the more interesting points to you. In this case, it was owls. I had one fly right across the front of my car as I was driving, and that doesn't often happen because they're normally a nocturnal animal. Um, Tootsie Pop commercial. The one where, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? And you go, well, let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 3. Um, I know I'm dating myself for even knowing what that commercial is, but when I saw two owl things on the same day, I realized, okay, you know what, maybe now it's time to go check that out. So, um, there's some stuff that you probably already know about them, but you might not know why that is about them. So, for instance, one of the things that is the most notable about them is their gigantic head with their massive eyes, and the head can swivel like, in almost any direction. And so, come to find out, that's by design. It kind of needs to be that way because they're one of the few birds that actually hunt at night and use their sight to do it. So they actually have what is like akin to telescope eyes. Their eyes actually go way deep so that they can get the maximum amount out of what little light they have to hunt with. And so their eyes can't actually move up and down and around like ours can. They have to be able to just stare straight ahead and do the focus dilation thing, and that's all their eyes can do. So that's why they have that head that can go 270 degrees in any direction, because they need to be able to look straight, almost much like how when I wear my glasses, how it's a small field of vision, so I don't have as much peripherals. I do, but they're kind of fuzzy. So if I want to see something sharply in focus, I've actually, over the years of wearing glasses, have learned to turn my head around a lot. So if I sleep on my neck funny, I actually am very limited when it comes to doing a lot of stuff. Like I'm kind of like Batman with his cowl, where I kind of have to move everything all at once. My whole upper torso has to move if I'm in pain and I can't easily do neck swivels. So the head with the big eyes. What you won't see are their ear holes because they're obviously covered by some feathers. Now their ear holes are asymmetrical, and what it is that much like a bat using echolocation, they use their ears to try and hone in on their prey. So when they hear a noise, their hearing is just so fine-tuned sensitive, especially because of the feathers that are around the ears, that they can tell how long it takes a sound to get from one ear to the other. So basically, we're talking like, microsecond difference from hitting that ear to that ear, but then they know, oh, that's on that side. And they keep swiveling until they hear it both at the same time and they know they're heading in the right direction. So I thought that was fascinating. So they do hunt by both sight and hearing. But one thing that's interesting about their sight is they're so dialed in to be able to see far away that, much like the opposite of me, see, I'm farsighted, so anything far away is very fuzzy unless I have my glasses on. But up close, especially if I take my glasses off, I can read really fine print. Owls are going to be the opposite, so they actually can't see anything once it's up to a couple centimeters in front of their face. So kind of like how when a shark attacks and they roll their eyes in the back of their head at the very last second to protect their eyes, same thing with an owl. By the time it gets to be within a couple centimeters of its prey, it just kind of has to hope that it's done its due diligence with the hunting, with the eyes and the ears, because they're almost kind of guessing at the very last minute when they grab on with their talons. And they are carnivores, so they're eating basically live stuff. And that's why they need, super big, strong talons, super sharp beak, because that's what they're going to use to help basically massacre their prey. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a video of an owl eat, but they are not gentle with their food. They're not a forager. All right, they're definitely a hunter. Um, Now, I think one of the most fascinating things about owls is despite the size, despite them being as big as they have the quietest flight of almost any known bird. And so the way that their feathers are shaped, it's actually a really weird combo of smooth and serrated, and it actually works to muffle almost all of the sound. So you could actually have a sparrow go by. If you have a microphone, you can hear the much like how we already know, like a hummingbird, as small as it is, its wings are going so fast that you hear a very distinct. So With owls, though, they need to be able to hunt quietly. They use the night as a protective cover, but they also don't want to be a big flappy flap, 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 flap. Well, anything that they're hunting is going to hear that and then go running. So their wings are actually super, super, super quiet. There's actually a pretty cool video on YouTube if you can check it out, where they actually do have a couple of birds fly by with a microphone, and when the owl goes by, it's 100% quiet. Like the microphone doesn't even pick up anything. I thought that that was absolutely fascinating. The fact that something with as big of a wingspan, I can't remember how big the biggest owl wingspan can get, but I mean, it's impressive, and they still managed to do that, almost completely soundless. So I thought that that was just super fascinating. There's a bunch of different variations of owls, so there are some that can actually hunt almost exclusively fish. And what's interesting is that those owls that do hunt the fish, they never really needed to develop that whole silent wing thing. So because the fish can't hear, underneath the water, so their wings actually do make the most noise out of any owls in the owl kingdom because they're a fish hunter. And I don't know if you've ever seen a video, but I actually seen a video of an owl basically swimming down a creek, which some birds can swim, some birds can't. I thought that was interesting that I don't know if it's just that specific owl type. And they just come in a whole bunch of varieties of different stuff. There's this video that got pretty popular a couple of years ago, and it shows this owl that when presented with a bird that's roughly its equal size, it puffs out all of its feathers until it looks like it's about twice the size of what it normally would be, in order to intimidate, like, hey, bird, if you thought this was a good, evenly matched one-on-one fight, well, now I'm twice, three times, the bird that you thought that I was. And then they bring an even larger bird of prey around, and then the owl tightens way up and gets like this evil looking face. And what's funny is that the video mistakenly said that the owl is puffing itself up for the smaller bird to be intimidating, and then it's giving the evil look to be intimidating to the bigger bird. And that actually isn't what's happening. What it is it's imitating a tree branch. Owls are really known for their camouflage. If they're in the woods, they have browns. If they're in a more exclusively snowy area, they're all really white. Much like many animals that typically adopt colors that kind of blend in with the surroundings, owls are no different. But this particular one, to us, it looks like it's trying to be an evil owl, but it's actually trying to basically, get itself as small as possible so that it almost could look like a forked tree branch as opposed to a potential prey and or competition. Um, Now, it would be an hour-long video if I went into all of the um, mythology of owls, because I know that most people know owls as a source of wisdom. And so in some cultures, they do see owls as a source of wisdom. Some they see it as, signs of good omen. Now, what I thought was very fascinating is that I've always kind of grown up with owls being, knowledge, wisdom. So I kind of assumed that we got that from our past. But what actually is more true is that I think a majority of the indigenous tribes used to always see them as a bad sign. So again, I don't have the whole list to go through, but I saw this thing where it was like saying tribe after tribe after tribe, and the owls were mostly bringers of death or bad news or impending doom or all this bad stuff, which I always thought that owls were looked on in a good light when it comes to how some tribes do that. One thing that I'm amazed that I haven't brought up yet, and I do plan to in episodes from now on, because I think it would make a good segment, is that on that subject, there's a book that I have called Animal Speak, and it's just kind of a neat idea where basically you see an animal during the day, and for whatever reason it catches your attention. Like maybe you've seen a raven more than 3 times in a given day, or like I said, I saw an owl during the daytime, which is very rare, fly in front of my car. So if that had happened, then I could go check out the book and see what seeing an owl is supposed to mean. Kind of like a horoscope in a way. It's almost like with June's going into retrograde, or I'm not sure how the whole thing works, but in this case, it's you saw this animal, that means that signs of this are coming, signs of that are coming. So it's just something that's kind of fun to do, and much like one of my podcasters that I follow, Chrissy Chaos, he does this 48 Laws of Power, kind of as a joke. I almost want to start adopting the animal speak, so that's something to look forward to in another video. Um, but yeah, that's just one of those animals that you see every once in a while. Kind of like how when I went into a deep dive of ducks, I was very surprised at how little I actually knew. I knew they migrate. I know they sit in the water. Sometimes you see their butt go up. You assume that they're hunting for something. But beyond that, I had very little knowledge. And so some of the more interesting things that I found out about ducks, kind of the same thing with the owls. I was like, okay, that's a very distinctive feature on them, but now I know that there's a reason why. Huge eyes, telescope eyes. They need to see at night. So I hope we found that kind of neat and interesting. I'm going to keep trying. Anytime that I happen to get the whim for a deep dive like this, and please, if you have any suggestions for one that you'd like to know a little bit more about, like, oh, why do they do that? Or how can they even do that? One that I'll probably do at some point is an octopus, with the camouflage. Stuff like that is just utterly fascinating to me. I hope it is to you. But either way, appreciate you listening, appreciate you, and see you next time. Awkward pause, get the button.